Welcome to the Alien Probe Podcast. The Travis Walton UFO incident was an alleged alien abduction of American forestry worker Travis Walton by UFO on November 5th, 1975, while he was working on the Apache Sitgraves National Forest near Snowflake, Arizona. Joining us today is, once again, Deb. How's it going, Deb?
It's going good. I haven't been here in forever.
What have you been doing with yourself, anyway?
You know, my life is so exciting. I usually go and walk a dog, visit the neighborhood, see the local wildlife.
How's work?
Work is working from home, so it's the best thing in the world.
How many miles are you walking this dog?
Oh, we walk anywhere from 4 to 8 miles. We've got a river right down the street, so we just take ourselves down to the river. He goes swimming. We see a little wildlife. We see some other dogs. It's very entertaining.
Let's talk about Mr. Travis Walton. We've studied this story for a little bit. Today we just want to kind of zero in on the topic. We've talked about it a few times. We saw the movie Fire in the Sky. And, what did you think about the movie?
The movie was entertaining. I guess we deleted a couple of the characters when we did the movie because there were a little fewer guys in the movie, but it was fun.
They couldn't fit everybody in the back of that pickup.
I know. I'm wondering how they got all those people in that pickup, but they lost one when Travis decided to take a walk and visit a UFO.
He appeared after, so he disappeared, and so he kind of reappeared after. I don't want to act like I'm skeptical, but it's just the accounts that were, and also we should mention that Travis was on with Joe Rogan, his podcast. Not quite as good as, necessarily as good as ours, but Rogan's okay. I like listening to him.
One of these days we'll make time for him too. He can come here.
He'll have to come on. It's one of the best known alien abduction stories, of course, is Betty and Barney Hill, which we'll do late at another time.
But now this happened right after a Betty and Barney Hill
type. Yeah, and that was one of the things that I wanted to bring up, that this happened just after.
Right.
So he was abducted. They were on a logging trip, and
they were heading home after a long day of work. It was dark, right?
Yeah. Well, it was getting dark.
It was getting dark, and then all of a sudden they saw a bright light in the woods, and of course, what do? You drive to it.
Well, better than that, Travis decides to jump out of the truck. I don't know if they had a few beers before they did this or anything, but he decides to go towards the light. And as they approach the light, they stop the truck to realize that it was some kind of UFO that was about 20 feet in diameter and about 8 feet high, which is, big enough for small aliens, I guess, to be inside. There's always that. I've had lots of discussions with Dr. Bill and things about how the UFO, is it a drone? Is it a UFO? I mean, did this thing...
Well, if it was only 8 feet tall, I mean, if somebody's in it, they're very tiny, right?
Yeah, and when we did the deal with as the Area 51 guy.
Right. Oh, okay.
You know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah. This is good.
Yeah. So it was 27 feet.
Oh, okay.
It was
Lazar?
big. It was 3, Bob Lazar. It was 27 feet high.
Yeah, that's...
And it was 3 decks, the propulsion deck and the middle deck where the passengers sat.
Right.
And he didn't see the top deck, which is where the tiny alien would sit. But this one, I suppose, could be, a couple decks and that kind of thing.
So Travis gets out of the truck and goes running to check out the scary object that's 8 feet tall.
Yeah. And everyone else is in the truck yelling at him to get back.
Right.
And what they described as a bluish light that came out of the saucer and directly hit Walton. And it lifted him off the ground, and he got thrown back a few feet. And then Mike Rogers, and was the driver and the crew chief, I guess, of the logging crew, took off and...
Yeah, they just drove away. They just left him.
They left him.
He's now levitating, so we're out.
Yeah, so he hit the ground.
Yeah, so they drove away, but then they waited about 20 minutes and then decided to come, oh wait, we're gonna get some shit when we get back if we don't have Travis with us, so let's go see if we can find him.
We just left him. So he got back where the UFO was, but then, he was gone. They searched for him for about a half hour, hoping,
Well, yeah, you'd think that maybe he ran after the truck, going, help, please don't leave me here.
Well, there's a couple different stories that Mike left the crew, came back by himself and looked for Travis, and there's another story that everybody said we're all going back. So
right. I wasn't in the movie. I think some of the guys said, no, we're not going back to that spot.
Which is probably, would you go back?
To find him? Yeah, I think I would.
Even if you knew the UFO might be there in the blue light.
But we drive slowly.
And you might get probed.
I'm not going to get probed. See, we drive slowly. If we see something scary, we have the option of making a U-turn and getting the hell out before the blue light hits me.
Yeah. Well, I got back in town around 7:30, and one of the guys, Kenneth Peterson, called the local sheriff to report what had happened. And he was obviously missing, and
we lost somebody.
And then because these loggers are kind of partiers and things, and they probably thought, well, the deputy was skeptical about the account, and but the men were distraught. I mean, they
just lost their friend, and they really should not have driven away. Because at least then they'd know what happened to him if they had watched what happened. But at this point, when you drive away and then you come back, it's like you just assume he's going to be there waiting for you. And so you don't know, did he walk away? Did he levitate away?
I don't know.
But the sheriff said, if they were acting, they were really good at it because they were truly distraught. So he knew that something bad happened.
So the sheriff... the deputy called Sheriff Marlon Gillespie, who came down to interview the men with Officer Ken Copeland. And then at that point, they decided to get a search team together.
And now it's truly dark outside.
Yeah, now it's pitch black. To look for Walton, but there was no trace of the men or the flying saucer. And then at this point, the police are beginning to suspect foul play.
Well, yeah, they thought that these guys killed him or did something bad to him.
Yeah.
Because, of course, alcohol's involved.
But, I mean, if you're going to kill somebody, I don't know that I'd make up a UFO story to cover it.
Yeah, usually you just say that, I must have left town. I already had a girlfriend over there in the next county.
Something must have happened. I don't know.
But they all took polygraphs.
Yeah, all the men took polygraphs, and with the exception of one, passed it. And but that was 5 days later,
right?
Because I guess they were still investigating.
Well, yeah, they searched and searched. I mean, they just assuming that they were going to find a body or find Travis.
Yeah, and they'd ask questions: did you harm Travis, or did you, They knew where the body was buried. And Alan Dallas, it was the only one who didn't come back positive, was
inconclusive.
And it was kind of inconclusive, but it wasn't necessarily lying. It's polygraph is kind of a. Have you ever taken one of those?
No. I've seen them on movies.
Yeah, I've taken one before to get a job. It was kind of weird, just to reflect my first warehouse job.
Right.
I had to go to
how funny
into San Francisco to go in this office and take this test.
Did they do the psych evaluation too?
No, because I did get the job, so that wouldn't.
Oh,
if they did the psych test, I would never pass that. Yeah. the polygraph turned up that they did see something.
Something.
I mean, some object.
And they believed it was a UFO.
Yeah, they believed it was a UFO.
And they believed that Travis Walton wasn't injured?
They didn't. No, yeah, they didn't.
It says that they believe that Travis Walton was not injured, that he just disappeared because they didn't see him get hurt, right? They just saw him get levitated a little bit, and so they just...
Well, what they saw was a beam hitting him and
right.
him flying backwards.
Right.
So late in the evening, we'll get to the Travis Walton's perspective of it here coming up.
So then after a week, Grant Neff gets a phone call, and the guy says, it's Travis Walton. And the voice is really raspy. And
can you do a low raspy voice?
This is Travis Walton.
Do you want a cigarette? Oh, he couldn't have had a cigarette at a UFO.
I've never smoked, so I don't have the raspy voice. This is Travis. I'm at a phone booth at the Heber gas station. I need help. Come and get me. And so, of course, this guy thinks, somebody's screwing with me. This has got to be a prank because, that's the last thing I'm going to get is this phone call from my friend that's been missing for a week. But the guy was just pleading for him. I need your help. I need your help. So Grant and Dwayne, they drove out to the gas station and they found Travis in a phone booth.
On the floor.
Naked.
On the floor of the phone booth.
In the movie, he's naked.
No, yes, in the movie he's naked.
But in the account, he's wearing the same clothes that he was wearing when he was abducted.
And that was something that and I love Joe Rogan because he doesn't insult his guests. Yeah. It's very, he doesn't insult them direct. He asks questions, probing questions, which he should have been an investigative reporter because he's good. But he said, how did you, because he said he was clothed.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, you were like 10 days?
Yeah.
5 days?
Yeah, 5 days that he was missing, right?
And how did you, so they did all this. Well, we'll get to that part. But one account said he was naked. One account said he was. Right. He said he was in his clothing. That's where.
But he was much thinner than much thinner. He was unshaven, which if you're wandering the woods for a week, it would also be those things.
Or if I went to a hotel and picked up some booze at the AMPM and drank myself into his. Yeah. For 5 days, I would probably look just like that.
Just like that.
As they came.
But he was talking gibberish about strange things. He was scared. So something happened.
But it did take a while for Travis to come out and talk about his story. I mean, as you can imagine, he was pretty shook up by the events that took place. And though it was an amazing story, he remembers being struck by the bluish light in the woods and waking up and thinking he might be in the hospital because he was laying on a bed, or on a table, I should say, with another blue light above him. I'd be like, oh shit, not another blue light. And he was inside. It was muggy and warm. Looked around.
Tried to turn on the air conditioner because that's the first thing I would do.
You would. Or the ceiling fan.
Where's the air?
Maybe the ceiling fan in the ship. He saw 3 figures standing around him. He thought they were doctors, but because they were wearing orange garments, but
like
so
traffic safety.
It's like I don't know. It's like those
Caltrans.
Those vests.
Are they Caltrans?
Well, they're very safe in the UFOs.
You don't want to get shot.
Well, you know what my thing is. These are just aliens are actually us from the future.
Evolved versions
they came
of us.
in evolved versions of us. This is what we.
So they know that
we finally got really small and really green or gray and really big eyes, and that's how we end up. And now we came back, and for some reason we have some interest in this guy. Well, they may not have had an interest in this guy, but they just thought, man, if this guy is stupid enough.
Well, he's the one that got out of the truck. It's like the puppy that comes running at you. Well, I guess this one's mine.
Why do you want to take the one that's, I don't want to say not the smartest, but
well, he's the one because he's the
most curious.
No, he's the one you could catch. The other ones are in a truck. This one you can catch.
I see. But anyway, to my point, they're from the future. No, you're very safe in the future, so you gotta wear something that you
no more camouflage.
Well, they can't just be gray because people be,
Well, we are in hunting country here, so
Yeah. Well, they should have camo.
No, because then you get shot. You wanna stand out so they don't think you're a deer.
So, okay, we're gonna be objective, right?
Okay.
So, we're not. So, when his vision cleared, he realized that, well, these things aren't human.
Okay.
He described them as being less than 5 feet tall.
That's me. That's me.
Holy crap.
There's nothing weird about that. That's me. Okay.
Make your eyes really big.
I don't have large, dark eyes. I have very light eyes. And I do not have a large head.
But they had small nostrils and ears. They had small facial feet. All facial features were small. It's comparable to other alien abduction and similar to what people, the beings were the grays, as they described. So frightened, Travis jumped off the table, which is probably something we all would do. But it kind of begs the question is, wouldn't they, like, strap him down? Or
So that's what I'm thinking is usually when you're, being examined by something that knows you don't want to be there, they're going to, attach you to the table somewhere. But, maybe they're a trusting orange vest wearing gray crab.
So then he jumps off the table, attacks one of the creatures by striking it with the back of his fist.
Oh, that's just rude.
Then he mentioned it wasn't as solid as a human.
So it didn't.
So they're lighter.
Oh my God.
The keto diet.
Yeah.
Wonder what they eat. You ever wonder about that? I mean, they gotta.
Yeah, nobody mentions any food. Well, and he came back really thin.
You wouldn't like this at all. There's no food.
Yeah, because he came back really thin, so obviously they didn't feed him. There, I would be so angry. By hour 2, they'd be getting attacked by me. It's like, I know, just eat one of them.
Now your food. Yeah, I don't know what you get if you cut one of those things open.
And see, that's the other thing. I mean,
like another one would come out like one of those Chinese things.
They abducted something that's way bigger than them. Because he said, they're so tiny. So then 3 of them try to subdue him.
Well, they didn't have him strapped to the table. I guess they didn't. It's like, it's like Roswell. Why just crash a couple of saws? It's like, is this your first rodeo? Like getting somebody?
Well, again, they're not going to send the smart ones here.
Put the B team up.
Maybe that's what happens when you do something wrong in the future. You just get sent back to the past where everybody's stupider than you. You have to try and.
These are prisoners from the future, right?
Yeah.
So they just send them back to do their
bidding
because
they don't know
what's going to happen. So you don't think this guy? This will be fine. This guy that's like twice as big as us.
Yeah, we'll just lay him on a table. He'll sleep. Maybe they thought he was dead.
So now the 3 of them try to.
You lay back down.
They try to grab him and subdue him. So he grabbed the nearest object,
which is a beaker.
What's this? It's like, what is? It's the only thing. Okay, what is this thing?
It's a beaker.
It's a half. A foot, like 18-inch long glass-like cylinder on the table. It might not be a beaker. It might just be like
a probe.
A light. A probe. That's pretty big.
So he yells at him, "You keep back! I've got a cylinder.
Yeah,
and I'll use it."
Keep back. And they never tried to communicate with him, or what he could tell with each other. There's
and their little rubbery faces had no facial expressions.
Well, so they're looking at him like, you see on these television shows and things where they're communicating like the buttheads on the Star Trek episode. Where they're just kind of, beep, beep, beep,
So Travis is ready to fight, though. He's so they left. They're like, we're out. They left the room.
we're out.
I guess they don't even close the door. So now he's like, I'm gonna find.
You think they should close the door and lock it?
Yeah, because now he's out of the room and
Yeah, you could have just they're all three of them went to get the storm with a key and they're locked.
Right. Get out. Yeah, and so now he's heading down the hallway.
You let it out. They're binding to each other. You let it out.
It's out. So he finds this large spherical room with one chair right in the middle.
Now you would think.
Is it a portrait studio or what happens?
Well, it's obviously the pilot seat.
Of course, because
but he doesn't know how to operate it because he's a logger. He doesn't know anything about. Sorry to all the loggers out there.
But all he can see is the back of the chair. So he's.
I don't know how to operate a spaceship either, so it's okay. Do you know how to operate a spaceship?
Well, if there's no buttons, then no. I'd start thinking, fly. But
maybe that's how they do it.
But what if that's not their language? You have to start, because you probably don't use the English language. Fly.
Yeah, they use another language.
You start flapping your hands. You start flapping like wings. So he thinks that maybe one of these creatures in the chair, so he sneaks up behind it. There's little lights around him. And then he says the lights, they're like stars from the walls around him. The walls around him are now becoming transparent. This would freak me out because now I'm in space.
So now he knows. So they can just see through these walls and it's just space.
Oh, so he sits in the chair and pushed a small lever because in the future,
just slide back home.
It's a recliner.
Small lever. Hey, it's a recliner. It is a recliner.
It's a recliner. So
is
he's thinking maybe
recliner?
It's a swivel chair.
So this is just a place for them to watch space.
So hopefully, he's pulling on this lever, thinking maybe it's going to open a door. When all he does is recline, get comfortable.
Oh, that's terribly disappointing.
But now the stars, they're starting to shift and rotate. He's controlling the ship with the lever.
It's a recliner lever.
This ship is so advanced that it's got a lever.
It's advanced. Well,
so now that he's starting,
it's kind of
he thinks he's flying around, but no, he gets out of the chair and starts walking around. Oh, now he's going out another door. And then, what he finds outside that door?
It's kind of like Dune, where it's terribly advanced, yet the ships kind of look like they're in the 18th century.
Well, retro. Retro is cool.
It's retro.
But then...
So here's a noise.
He goes out the entrance of, out of the spherical room, and you know what's out there? A human.
A human. Wearing a blue suit and a thick belt.
I wonder if it's like one of those old man jumpsuits.
Dad, is that you?
Well, you know how those old men all seem to have those one-piece jumpsuits, coverall things?
And it's got a helmet with a glass face. Like his fishbowl.
A thick belt, I'm telling you.
You know those old cartoons where he's got the fishbowl head?
This is every old man in your neighborhood that wants to know what you're doing to your car.
What's going on? Are you picking on the other children?
Or they ask... When you're washing your car, you want to do mine next? He frantically asks him hundreds of questions all at once, but the man
grabs his arm and motions him to follow him.
Well, because he can't hear him through this.
Because the glass, because he can't talk. He's human, he can talk, but he can't hear him through the glass fishbowl. Well, it's kind of like when we put new windows in the house, we can hear the jackhammers when they're building the pool.
It's like I'm not supposed to be skeptical, but it seems so very cartoonish. So then they went into a large room, and there were more ships, 40-foot saucer shape. Oh, I can't say that. Saucer shaped ships.
Say this 40-foot saucer shaped.
You try.
From there. So the man continues to lead him down 2 hallways into a room that contain 3 other humans. Well, this thing's lousy with humans.
And they're all wearing matching clothes.
They have to match.
Does everybody really have to wear the same thing?
You don't want to they don't want to wear the orange jumpsuit top with the blue pants. That might work. I don't know. And then the black belt.
Yeah.
He noticed all the clothing. It's funny how we talk about the clothing.
So after all this, now they're leading him to another table.
Well, they proceed at another table.
There's another table.
Well, what happened? He keeps asking him what's going on if they can help him, but they
won't talk.
They keep, they just lead him back to another table. Look, and covered his face with something that looked similar to an oxygen mask, and after that he woke by the gas station. And
so these other humans live on the ship, and like they're collecting humans, but yet him they just inject because he wouldn't lay on the table. It's like, if you get up and attack us, we're just gonna throw you back at a gas station.
Yes. So, he was gone.
Maybe he didn't get
5 days. Okay. Uh-huh. So he was laying there on the first table with the 3 aliens for what?
That's when
4 or 5 days almost.
That's when he woke up.
So he was just laying there. All of a sudden maybe they were just getting ready to put him back to the gas station at that point. Anyway, he just didn't know it.
Well, he touched the lever on the chair, and you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah. But there were 6 people that witnessed. There were the 6 witnesses, and one of the things
But they didn't witness an abduction. They witnessed him getting hit by something and then came back and he was gone.
The witness, they didn't really witness him going on the ship. But, they saw a spaceship.
Right.
Or something. And they saw the blue being that blasted him backwards. And my thing is that they all, to this day, one of them was actually offered money by one of the tabloids to out him,
right,
and say that you didn't really see this,
right,
and nobody.
And they did not profit from this.
They didn't. Well, Travis is he's got his own following, and he goes to the UFO shows. We're gonna have to.
Are we gonna go to a UFO show?
We're gonna go to the UFO show. You're gonna have to. Yeah, you're going. I'm not going by myself.
Go on.
Something bad could happen. So these guys, nobody talks. To my point, nobody has said anything. So, I'm trying to debunk this whole thing. This could never happen.
They believe this happened. Because, look at this guy in 75 and 95. They're saying the exact same thing. And, they were horrified, at least, from all the interviews, all the stuff that we've read. They were horrified that they had to come back to town and announce that, this happened.
Yeah, they're making...
And, these are not hard-drinking drug addicts or anything. These are hard-working guys, country dudes that aren't really, UFO. I'm sure they weren't the kind that were talking about UFOs and watching Star Trek. These were guys that were, working hard and had families and had no plans on their life being treated as an alien abduction story.
Right. So basically, it's to finish up. That's kind of where it ended up, and they nothing really. We've accepted the story the way it is, and they got paid by $1,000 for the best UFO story or something.
Oh, that's right, the National Enquirer. Yeah. The National Enquirer voted them the best UFO story, but that's really that. This was. I don't think that paid them for what they lived through.
Right.
Especially Travis, because it took him a long time before he could function.
Right.
How do you explain this to your family? That you were gone for a week? Everybody's going to be very suspicious.
So that's basically the Travis Walton story. Let's kind of move on to Skinwalker Ranch. Okay, we're going to, speaking of stories that are, the History Channel's put on the Mystery of the Skinwalker Ranch or whatever it's called. And basically Skinwalker Ranch was, in the Utah County bordering the Ute Indian Reservation. We've had a whole episode on Skinwalker. We'll just give you a brief. It's located. It's in Utah. I think it's the northeastern side of Utah. It's got a 50-year history of odd events that have taken place there. According to people, they've investigated evidence of close to 100 incidents that include vanishing and mutilated cattle, sightings of unidentified flying objects or orbs, and large animals. You got the so now history has come up with this show. You got the episode list?
Oh, I do.
Oh,
I
awesome.
have an episode list.
So we've been watching. They're on their second season, and
well, the first season was a lot more eventful, obviously, because we were going back to the beginning of time. And we were going back and they were telling us everything that had happened. And then it started with, there's a new group of people that have taken over the ranch and are investigating.
At one time it was owned by Robert, it was first picked up by some ranchers. They gave it up to, and then it was sold to billionaire Robert Bigelow. He bought it from them for $200,000, and then from Terry Sherman, the ranch owner, and then Brandon Fugel, a Utah real estate tycoon, buys this thing. And then he wants to investigate all these things. Now it's a History Channel, and for those of you who have watched Oak Island, the History of Oak Island, it's Oak Island UFO.
They're always close to finding something.
Yeah, so they're right there every time. There's the first thing is that they dig during the first, and if you haven't seen it, and this is a huge spoiler alert. So I'm not telling people not to watch it. It's like it's Oak Island only with UFOs, but we've only seen, again, spoiler alert, they saw something that appeared to be a UFO on one of the episodes.
So they've covered the ranch with cameras. And now they're bringing in different people to test different areas and see what they can find. One of the issues is every time they dig, something bad happens. There's somebody got...
well, they don't die, but the guy got the thing on his
brain
head.
Tumor thing.
Yeah, well, it was like... It wasn't... I don't know if it was in his brain, but it developed a big... Like somebody hit him on the head. It developed this lump thing. And it was kind of bizarre. And then,
then we've opened a cistern.
Yeah, they opened a cistern that had this nasty water in it. And that one of the guys felt woozy or something. All of a sudden, it was probably chemicals or something else in there.
But they tested, he seemed to have some short-term radiation poisoning there for a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they're saying. I mean, if this thing's true, it's pretty dangerous. I don't really know exactly. It appears that they think there's something underneath the ground there. And again, they've done the thing where the ground penetrating radar, where they can tell if there's any voids. And of course they find, there's a big void there, and there's this and there's that, but they don't want to dig because bad things happen.
Right. Dragon,
the security officer.
No digging.
Dragon, the security officer.
The guy's name is Dragon. And so they've brought in some drone operators. They've brought in some pretty sophisticated equipment. And usually what happens is as soon as they start trying to go anywhere near these, there's Homestead 1, Homestead 2, Homestead 3, and as soon as they get near these areas, their equipment just won't work. Sometimes the battery immediately drains. Remember the drone that the battery just drained. It was just gone. They just charged it, went out there, turned it on, the battery was dead. There's obviously some kind of electromagnetic issue with this area.
Oh, look at you go.
Oh, I got the big words. Whether that's
awesome.
Paranormal or just, I don't know geography and I don't know geology of what.
Well, it's kind of just dramatic. Frugal's got this black helicopter that he flies
They've got
people
the coolest toys.
You know, they've got they got their quads, and then they found.
And then one of the guys, every time he tries to use his phone, it won't work.
Yeah, it does wacky things.
Yeah.
Jumps around.
And they always, look at my phone. Look at my phone.
Look
it's just bouncing around. I couldn't do this if I wanted to.
Cut to commercial. So then, yeah, it's the phone, and then they got. It's just funny because like Oak Island, they have this boardroom. Have that boardroom, and they've got
These guys have a war room.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Look, he's got a chalkboard.
Yeah, They need that thing that the kids have in school with Microsoft, where it has that board, that big whiteboard.
But it won't work because electronics don't work here.
Yeah, so they do some diggings, but they don't find anything. Of course, nothing of. They don't find a UFO, or they don't find a they don't find a UFO, or they don't find a secret base underneath there yet.
But they do see things flying over.
They've
seen some things.
Yeah,
flying
the ship,
over.
and they So then they find the dead cow. That all of a sudden the cows get scared, run away, and then they've got cows there, and. One of the cows dies, and then it's mysterious because they comes over and they've got a vet that looks like they call in a specialist when things happen, and the vet says, it's whatever, some anomalous thing, and
but the wildlife won't eat these.
No, there's no fly, and wildlife won't eat it. There's no flies won't land on it.
No, it's just laying there all complete, like the cowhide, like I always see in antique stores, perfectly preserved cowhide.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because they're looking at this cow, and then a UFO flies over, and what appears to be a UFO. It's hard. It's like any other It's like any other UFO
it's cloudy,
that you see on.
It's fuzzy.
It's fuzzy, and then the season finale of season 1. They bring in
the Attorney General.
The Attorney General, who also hopes that they can find out what's going on and you have to picture this place as just a lot of bare land with these different homestead sites on it. There's people that live there, and
and they keep bringing in more wildlife, which is just sad because then it seems like something bad always happens. Last time it was coyotes or something.
They got a dog wandering around. I'm surprised you weren't concerned about something happening to this dog.
Nothing's happened to the dog yet, but
he belongs to the people. There's people that actually live there. I've heard a family that lives there, and it's like, can they not shed any light on what's going on here? I mean, you live here. Do you not? Yeah, of course they say this happens and that happens, and there's spooky spooky lights and orbs that cruise through and things. And then they went in the basement. Was that season 1? They went in the basement and they said, I keep hearing these noises. And so they go in the basement. They find this. They dig through this concrete foundation. They find this mysterious room.
Yeah, there's another room. There's
a room in there. So they put the camera on the end of a stick thing. And they go move in there, and then there's a little pile of the same. Not you. They don't know if it's human.
There's rubble.
It's rubble. It looks like something the rats kind of gathered together in the center of the room.
Whatever died in that room when somebody sealed it off.
Yeah, but they had the LiDAR. So then they had the LiDAR that which is that's the ground penetrating radar, and they invite a rabbi
over.
They invite.
Why are we all of a sudden at season?
That's fine. Well, we're not gonna. We're just kind of
2, episode 4.
Yeah.
So episode 1 of season 2 is just hilarious because they decide they're gonna find out where the water goes.
Yeah.
They have like water that you fill up this area and it drains out.
Yeah.
As water will. And so they dye the water.
They can't figure out where this water's going.
Yeah, so they put all this green dye in this water, and then they put cameras and they put probes, and they search every part of the ranch, and damn it if there's no green water coming out.
I got to tell you, I lived in...
There's no green water.
One of the places I lived in, a crap hole in Hayward, California. Sorry, Hayward. I haven't seen any Hayward views.
No?
No, maybe they try to listen to us. So, I had this, the front yard was, I had rented this place, and it was like a bunch of little, it was like Homestead 1 and 2, actually, it was like all these little houses. And the front yard had a bunch of cracks in it, so I put the hose down there, and it had this sparse grass. I want the yard to come back.
Right.
So I stick the hose down it. Water conservative people are going to hate this. I put the hose down there and I just turned it on, let it run forever.
Yeah.
Not a day or anything, but a long time.
Yeah.
And that thing never filled up. I don't know where that water went. And it reminded me of this episode where they put the green dye in and they're going, does this thing start at Homestead and come down in the creek, or where does it go? It's like, dude, it just...
You know the Earth is round, right? You know the Earth is round, and it goes down a long, long way.
Yeah.
So the green water never came out anywhere. It was very sad.
So yeah, then they, we
haven't got to the rabbi yet. That's an upcoming episode.
That's backwards.
Oh, I see. That's why. Okay.
So
there's the green dye.
They put the green dye in there, and they got this little excavator that they brought. I mean, they got the best equipped. I will say they're the best equipped. And we will watch the show. It's kind of like Oak Island. How many years has that gone on?
I don't know. I've only seen a couple episodes.
And what do they actually get? We're going to talk about Oak Island a little bit. What do they actually? Okay, they're digging all over this island, trying to find this treasure because they dug down.
Somebody buried a treasure at some point.
Yeah, they came in, they buried this treasure. As they bury this treasure, and if you dig down and then it they dig down and it breaks this thing, because it breaks this thing open. It's like a trap, and it lets all the water in. And so then now you can't just get to the treasure. You got to go through all this water. I read this story probably a long time before this came out.
This is like the Goonies.
Yeah, it was in Reader's. I read it in Reader's Digest. The story was a fascinating story. And I watched this thing for many seasons. I'm like, they don't find shit. I mean, very minor, like coins and buttons and nothing really of any significance. And then they're trying to branch out and go like where the people that left the treasure might have came from. So they're over in England looking at stuff, and they're traveling here and there. And it's like, I finally sat down and said, did we even we watched a couple episodes here?
Yeah, we've watched some.
I finally came down to the realization this is going nowhere. I mean,
but they're having so much fun, and they're spending a fortune.
Yeah. So, the dead cow from season 1, I guess they had to bring the dead cow story back.
Yeah, we're still on the dead cow.
Because they bring this.
See, here's where we found the stones with drawings of stars on them.
Yeah,
that's important right there.
Yeah, they had the big rock that they found with the drawings on it that happened to be in the form of some planets' locations. It coincided with planetary objects in the sky, and they brought in a guy that had seen this. He guided them to this, and then so they're like.
And then our latest...
But back to the cow. We can't forget revisiting the cow. What happened was they got another vet. I don't know why they didn't do this in the episode 1. So now the thing is like decomposed.
Right.
And so we're revisiting the decomposed cow that's laying there. And this guy decides he needs to cut, he gets his sawzall out. I think, did he cut it?
Did he cut it?
He cut it, and, so he can bring a piece of it back to the lab to see, if there's something really going on with this cow.
Yeah, I like it when they bring out some crazy electronic equipment. It's like, oh my God, the cows are moving to the other side of the pasture. Like they know something. It's like, cows are scared of noise, people. God.
And they go, it was the UFO scared them off. But this one didn't go. It just died. They ran off and they left the dead cow there.
So then they brought out the lasers on the last episode.
Yeah, hang on.
What?
It's the last episode.
That was.
Don't get there so quickly.
The lasers is an episode.
That's LiDAR. They brought the episode 3.
Episode 3 is the last one that we watched. We haven't seen 4 yet. They haven't shown us 4.
So they bring then they bring these lasers out and then they shine them around. You're like, what does this do?
I still don't know what that does.
Well, it's like if they're shining the light, they're thinking they shine the lasers across this one area, and if you can't see the laser, there's an unseen thing there.
So
there's something, not an alien or anything, but something that's there. That's the deal with it. They think it comes. One of the other theories with these guys are they see things like coming out of what appears to be an interdimensional portal.
Portals. That's right. We've got portals.
So that is one of the things that they're trying to see, I think, with this, is that, is there something there that the light won't penetrate?
Okay. And then they were afraid because 2 of the guys decided to take off and go out and up on this new they just built a new platform so that they can see from up. And 2 of the guys was like, try to stay out of the line of the lasers so you don't get lasers.
Yeah, you don't want to look into that thing will screw you up if you. So it looks like we have another one to watch.
4, yeah, because we're going to bring in a rabbi to bless the place. So that's going to be fun.
So anyway, this is what we're trying to say. And it's just.
There is something odd that happens at Skinwalker Ranch. There has been for hundreds of years, right?
Yeah, and it's got this. And Skinwalker is a Skinwalker is this Indian thing that attacks people,
right?
In the area. I mean, that's where the whole thing came from. So technically, it could, there could be something there. We haven't. The thing is, they go in these places and they're finding it's exactly like Oak Island. They just do this and then nothing happens.
Right. They find one little thing, or they find something that they like the drawings on the rock. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
When you find these ancient drawings on a rock, that's pretty cool. Whether it means aliens or not, but that kind of stuff is that historical stuff is cool. And Oak Island, I mean, they found a button.
Yeah, they found a button, they found a coin, they found this and that, and then it hooks you in. It definitely will hook you in, but it's just not, it's just not happening.
We need a big reveal.
Yeah, and this, inviting the rabbi to perform an ancient ritual believed to reveal interdimensional portal, and a rabbi leading to chilling results.
Well, of course they're going to be chilling. My God, we're going to have so much stuff. Oh, and then we only have one more after that.
Yeah.
What are we going to watch after that? Back to the X-Files.
Well, yeah, we got it. Anybody out there, you have to watch the X-Files.
Yeah. So okay, well that's.
So what's the final one about?
That's back to the Attorney General. I think this thing is.
Yeah, it's out of order.
Yeah.
So basically, that's
what we've learned so far.
That's what we've learned. So
that's what goes on here in Carmichael at the homestead.
Yeah, at the old homestead.
At our homestead 1.
So coming up, we'll be talking about Dr. Bill will be coming back, and we'll be talking about Ruppelt, who's the Project Blue Book. I don't want to say the sidekick. They have the doctor, and then they've got the Air Force guy. This is the Air Force guy. So he wrote a book. So what we're going to be talking to in the next couple of Alien Pro podcast episodes is this is the real Blue. You see the movie and you hear the things about Blue Book, but this is actually Ruppelt telling exactly what happened. It's got our favorite story of the Mount Rainier pilot who saw the 9,
right,
where they coined, I don't know how many episodes we've mentioned this guy, but this is where it started. So we have to talk about, what's going to be happening, with that. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Gulf Breeze 6. It's the people that, the military people that left their post and came in Europe and came back to the U.S. and Gulf Breeze. I mean, there's a lot of UFO sites in Gulf Breeze, so we're trying to tie together the whole thing. So we're going to be exploring that. That should be pretty interesting. The Gulf Breeze book has some interesting photographs, but thanks everybody. Thanks, Deb.
Thank you.
Thank you everybody for listening to the Alien Pro podcast. Remember, we are on YouTube, and YouTube, we just did our whistleblower episode, and YouTube, it's exploded. So thank you everyone for listening to that. I mean, it's got so many listens. It's crazy. Thanks for listening to the latest episode. We welcome your comments or questions to alienpropodcast@gmail.com. Visit us on Facebook at the Alien Probe Podcast, our website at alienprobe.net, Twitter and Instagram at alienprobepod. Find us on all podcast
platforms.
Thank you. Platforms. Thank you for... It's tough morning. Thanks to our senior producer, Robert Anthony. Until next time, thank you.